on this Orianna.
I'm waiting for this last ban, whether Orianna gets taken out of the pool. Really liked the Jarvan that we saw in the last series as well. Clearly, a lot of flexibility there. Orianna is going to be removed by LGD. And leaving us without some pretty premier mid laners as well. Cassiopeia naturally taken away. Nonetheless, a Ryze first pick does surprise me from BLG.
You know what's left up?
Give it to me.
The Naafiri is up and available for either of our teams to take. Now, I don't know if Ryze Naafiri is super good. I would expect a Lee Sin with this Ryze. That's my favorite pairing at least. And I think the Naafiri does pretty decently into the matchup that we've seen here. Could just be Ezreal Karma. Bot lane here for LGD. Very strong. A lot of mobility, wave push. You can obviously pair Karma with other things if you want to go the Naafiri now and deny it from Shun. Go Ezreal on 3, or if it gets taken away, you can go Siva. I like that matchup as well. I think LGD have a lot of cards here that they can play, and feels like they're kind of winning, or at least on top here.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous, and I'm happy to see as well that LGD are about a Naafiri pick. Not because it's not a good jungler, it's a great jungler. Into the Ryze, who has so much wave priority, who can so often roam first. Naafiri can struggle to get things going. If LGD are going to lock in Naafiri, I want to see them lock in a strong mid laner as well, who can match push with the Ryze, who can threaten to, maybe perhaps, like an Akali, take a couple of duels and amplify the Naafiri's damage so that it's not just Heng trying to lift a 1v2 out of the water by himself. Akali lock-in at the end here is very wise because it not only opens things up for the Naafiri that you mentioned, but it keeps them flexible. They can go a different way. You can go a tank jungler here and be just fine.
So matching mid and bot lane together. Tangyuan, I'm not the biggest fan of the Akali. I think Tangyuan is a really good Akali player. So that does make sense as a pick, but I think having your jungler here and then banning away junglers to limit Shun's pool, I think there's enough mages, you know. The Akali is, you know, an option. Then you can go things like Hui, Syndra, Victor, and Nivea into the Ryze, and I think you're okay. But LGD feeling like they want to go towards the Akali early and leaving some jungle open. Poppy's an interesting one because of the changes recently as well. She shifted more from a bruiser AD, kind of run you down threat, to a full tank. That's a lot of the builds have been, and some of the changes to her. So maybe even towards the top lane ban there for the Poppy. Vayne going to be taken away by BLG does make sense, considering that they have to blind their top laner, most likely. Olaf has been something that a lot of teams globally have been really prioritizing, and Vayne pretty good into that. Another thing that's worth mentioning, I'm not sure if it's going to get picked, but the Nasus changes are real, and he is very strong. I don't know if it's into this game, maybe not into this comp, but maybe.
Imagine Bin just returns to the LPL and slams a Nasus and just steamrolls an entire game. It's crazier things have happened. Not the best comp for Nasus to fight into, but
yeah,
he is pretty busted. So there's the opportunity. Pantheon going to be removed by LGD, of all people. I'd expect them to lock in a jungler here, especially because they've taken away Pantheon.
I would agree. Like a jungle here. I think the fact that Lee Sin, Naafiri are still up is really surprising to me. Gonna take away the Lee Sin. It's a good pairing with the Ryze. This is some really good skirmishing, some early skirmishing. This is funny because I expected it to be the other way around. I expected Heng to take the Naafiri and Shun with the Ryze to take the Lee Sin. Instead, we've got the flip. So a lot of scaling on BLG side. The Naafiri Ryze is going to take a little bit longer to fully come online. The Lee Sin Akali, very scary at those first item spikes. And even earlier with the Lee Sin to really be able to run you down. BLG going to have to blind their top laner here. And it's probably like Mbessa is one of the safest blinds. You could go Rumble as well. This would be completely psychotic. I think Mbessa is one of the best choices. Not like with the Renekton ban, the Vayne ban, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Not a bad pick here at all. lot of backline access, and is one of the few top laners that can not only access Ezreal, but then continue to chase him down. You can sort of proxy Crisp for this as well if you want a free public execution. Crisp's going to have a lot harder of a time getting away from that and should be playing right next to Shaoye. For LGD's final selection, a Jace would be throwing it all away in my eyes, but an Olaf I could absolutely see locked in. At face value, I'm concerned that LGD have given away the Naafiri, but like we said, I trust that we've prepared out of our minds for this, and the Olaf actually makes for a pretty competitive composition, all things considered.
Yeah, I like it. I don't mind the Jace, but I think that it makes the comp really hard. So I am with you that it does kind of put you in a really uncomfortable position. You've got Ezreal, Jace, Karma, which is very low commit, really trying to poke you out. The Enchanter doesn't get a ton of value in like the later stages of the game. It can help the Ezreal. Now you've got this really good, consistent threat. The Karma with the Olaf makes a ton of sense. This is a scary team fighting draft. They want to run you down. They want to play early. And I don't think that they like get monstrously outscaled. The Akali can find targets. Ezreal can pop off in the late game, and so can Olaf. On the other side, though, we need some time, right? We need Ryze to get online, Caitlyn to get there later on, and the Ambessa to look at some team fights, maybe some side lane action with the Bard and the Ryze. I think that if you simply sit there, go to team fights, and there's an Olaf with a Karma there, it's going to be really tough for something like Ryze, Caitlyn to get through it consistently.
Hey, as we get later on into this game, my feeling is that LGD, with more and more items, become more difficult to take down than BLG. And this is just where I'm at right now with the amount of mobility, with the amount of damage that people like Akali and Ezreal can build as they get to their 5th and 6th items. And I'm saying even 3rd and 4th, this should be a problem for BLG. Very worrying. On the other hand, BLG's first item spikes, especially around things like Ambessa and Naafiri, seem terrifying. And it's BLG's job, from where I'm standing, to take command of this game when we hit the mid game, when we hit 2nd and 3rd dragon, and steamroll it from there. Otherwise, LGD have this extremely safe kite back composition, and well, I want to see what you think of that before I start serving up another fish.
I like fish. But maybe not my favorite meat. I think it's good.
The level 1 skirmishes already pretty nice, even in the top lane. Ambessa definitely not winning the level 1, but been able to hold his own. The other fish that I wanted to serve up to you here was the idea that LGD's engage is kind of nothing. They really actually can't do it, and that is concerning to me.
I think we spoke about this on another cast. So I'm all for, guys, we have no engage. That's a worry. Have you heard of Ghost Olaf Alt Karma Shield engage? Can I serve you that fish?
Ah, I could see that. I could see that being...
That fish does damage, and I'm on the train of Olaf is really good and sometimes unanswerable. And this might be one of those games. Ryze does a ton of damage, sure, but the lockdown doesn't really matter onto him at all. I think that Caitlyn does struggle when it's not a full build Caitlyn to take down an Olaf, and even then, he can just run over the traps, the net. He doesn't care about it. Pretty early trading down there in bot lane. You saw some early summoner spells be used. Barrier out from Viper. I believe it was an exhaust, but I assume it was exhaust from Ezreal. It was. Heal out from both supports. So trying to win over some wave priority. Very important with these lanes. They are fighting for priority. And with junglers like Lee Sin and Naafiri, junglers who really want to, get the ball rolling, because Naafiri, the ball doesn't stop rolling, and then Lee Sin can also, most of his value is front-loaded in the game, unless you find a really crazy kick later on. Want to be impacting this bot lane. Heng will find Knight. He'll tickle him.
He's trying to secure second scuttle. Shun's already here as well, and Knight, as we mentioned, gets to roam first. Tangyuan's got to help Heng out and answer this, but Smite comes down from Shun, and double scuttle for him more than answers the invade on Krug that Heng made earlier.
Yep. Makes the XP basically dead even though a little bit more gold. So not too bad, not like we're missing out on like an early level 6 potentially. And Heng will continue the farm going. Really interested to see some already roaming supports, even despite the changes. Burdol will ghost.
Been actually forced to flash away, and Burdol's not going to continue the chase for right now. Wave pushing against him. Will land a small ward out here, but Burdol's got a pretty significant advantage, especially in the XP. Much closer to 6 than Bin is right now with the wave crashing.
Yeah, we had the spotlight firmly on Flandre when he entered, as Bin does a pretty decent chunk back onto Burdol and gets to hold the wave. But we were very critical of Flandre when he entered, and I think rightfully so. He didn't have the best performance, and I think that it is also natural to be critical of Bin now. How are you going to look? That, you know, BLG didn't look super great towards some tournaments and some events. And it seems like BLG and Bin weren't super happy with those results. They tried Wenbo, that didn't look really great. They got Flandre, and even though he is a very storied player, hasn't really gelled with the team, and now they're bringing Bin back in. And I think for this to work, and I want to see a really dominant top lane performance in this series. I know you were saying you expect BLG to win no matter the top laner, and I am with you there. I'm not far off. But since we've got Ben, expect it to be very one-sided, because this is what a lot of people would refer to as one of the best, if not the best top laner in the world for a while now. And coming off the back of some instability, needs to show up.
He certainly navigated the Olaf matchup quite well. I mean, Burdol has been trying to get advantages here, starting at level 1, even pushing it to the level 4 that we saw earlier. Now at level 6, still very much a skill matchup between the Ambessa and Olaf. As we get a little bit later into this, Ben will have the opportunity around first item to delete an Olaf if he manages to play it right. And noticing down in the bot lane, though, forcing Ezreal off the wave has actually been a pretty common occurrence. I'm going to steal away some chickens here, and Shun answering back with the rest of them, but we've got a lot of fighting for inches. You've seen that Game of Inches montage that came out a long time ago? I'm definitely feeling that now, as Shaoye feels it even more. Forced underneath the tower to tank 75% of his HP, essentially for free. On's going to take a tower shot for it, but Shaoye is under an immense amount of pressure, and he's actually missing a lot more CS than he otherwise should.
Yeah, Heng's here, has level 6 and the upgraded smite as well. Misses that Q, so Shun will get the upgraded smite, but not quite level 6 just yet. Looks like Heng won't be able to use that timer, that advantage. But speaking of advantages, BLG's bot lane are doing really well. This is not an instant win lane by any means at all. Viper and On playing it really well. Look at Shaoye's health. He's going to need to base here. They've already lost what looks to be 2 plates, I believe. Not in the best position. Yeah, they're going to lose a lot.
Couple of plates going the way of what is it? I was playing with Rooted Platelin.
Platelin. I like it.
Yeah, that seems to be the goal here, and Viper and On really making that look quite good. Still lane pressure in the top lane for LGD. That has been true basically the entire game with the Olaf matchup, although we haven't seen it turn into anything. Credit to Burdol. It hasn't turned into Shun being able to gank an overextending Olaf, but question for LGD, can they actually make something happen around this top lane and get a definite advantage for Burdol that isn't just the soft advantage that he's getting through the matchup, but something that hopefully he can turn into being a real side lane threat a la Caitlyn.
Both supports hovering in the mid lane. I mean, Chris was doing a little more than hovering. He's in it and actively clearing the wave, I guess. Dragon hasn't been touched yet. Both teams feeling pretty comfortable to play this very slow. Bit of action in the bot lane, and here comes a Ghost and ult. Okay.
Flashing forward, should be able to kill Bin here, and will. Does not get answered by the tower shot, and that is first blood to LGD.
I was talking earlier about being critical of Bin, and I agree with you that he was doing well in the lane, and I wouldn't have been able to spot that at all, that there was a solo kill angle around the corner, but Burdol definitely did. No flash on Bin, and Burdol just runs him down. Building up that advantage to about a 500 gold lead now. Burdol going to be pretty happy with that. BLG and Bin not so much, as that's now nearly eclipsed the lead that Viper and On have been generating in the bot side with all this work in about 10 seconds. We'll take a look back here. I can't believe this is a solo kill angle here. Well, does Bin do anything? It's on the cannon? It's on the cannon. He W's in, and that's the engage there. Ghost, ult, flash forwards. Bin can't get out. Very well played from Burdol. Bit greedy from Bin to go for that cannon. Didn't see that that was the reason. Public execution goes wide. The realm warp is useless, and BLG come up naught.
Bin is playing like on the numbers here, and so is Burdol with that engage. Top lane, now a place that BLG have to think about visiting. Just tough. They did just invest a little bit of time picking up the dragon. Those objectives early on were traded, so Void Grubs over to LGD as Heng was doing that while his top laner soloed the other top laner. And for BLG, first dragon going their way.
Is he dead?
Bad look. Shaoye is going to get out. Arcane Shift, making sure the trap doesn't connect, and there's no lethal here. But the pressure continues, and now a nearly 20 CS lead evolving in the bot lane in the favor of Viper, and maybe a bit of action cooking in the top lane as well.
Well, Platelin is doing her job. Nice flash out of Shaoye to avoid the trap and the damage that would have come after. I assume he would have just died if that had hit, but ends up living. This should be almost the full, if not the full tower. Although Viper low mana might just opt to take a base here. No, yes. All right, he is going to go for the base. Might even have Collector. I think he's fairly close. He might be. He got boots and refillable, so he's probably still a little bit away, but yeah, some dominance in the bot lane so far from both Viper and On, and you can see some difference in playstyle as well from the supports. On doing a little bit of roaming, but for the most part, staying in bot side, whereas Crisp is not been in bot. You can see that in the XP differential, but Viper's still up half a level despite his support, you know, being around and impacting the lane. So bot lane at BLG, more gold, more XP in both roles. That is the Collector finish as well, which is a really strong first item spike. Ult again.
Public execution just came up, but the flash from Bin immediately expended to get away from Burdol, having to respect this Olaf, and Burdol going to sidestep
Bin's
this again.
dead.
Now Bin overextended, has Heng ganking his lane. This could be Bin going down once more, goes for the answering kill though, and will take down Burdol.
Okay.
1-for-1 in the top lane for BLG.
Really well played from Bin to find that angle. Burdol making a pretty crucial mistake there. He played it so well until the very end, and now TP in from Tangyuan to the bot side. Viper is so far forward, he has no idea.
He literally just doesn't even know. Nobody's even pinged it. He's going to find out just now, and at this point, on my screen, Viper's already dead.
Yeah, really nice. Tangyuan takes over the wave. Shaoye should be able to go towards the mid lane as well and pick up the next wave. Keeping this game pretty even. Viper has a big lead, sure, but Heng and Burdol still maintaining theirs, and getting a kill onto Caitlyn there will help. I'm hoping that in this mid lane, Crisp can be around a little more. I would like it if Crisp could be in mid a little more to help. And actually, Shaoye is going towards the top lane. Heng and Crisp clearing at the mid lane. Are they going for a dive on Bin with no flash?
Work out really well.
I think they are.
No flash, no ult. Bin out of options. Big wave crashing underneath the tower. Shaoye is going to get in there with the ult, and Bin does not get to play any League of Legends today. That was a uninteractive moment for him. Now in the bot lane, first tower is going to go over to BLG, so a lot of the gold that they got off that kill answered, but Knight could go down with it. Tangyuan picks up the kill, and BLG, they go for a little too much.
Tangyuan just solo killed Knight on one of the tankiest mid laners in the game, this Rise. Also, with the quest completed, Shaoye gets the kill. Look at the gold lead in bot. It's nearly evaporated. Viper was up like 800, 900 gold. It's down to, 500. It was 450, or should be 450 after this wave gets picked up. That's the quest, the extra gold you get from getting kills there. Coming through. LGD, some really nice micro from Tangyuan on the bot side, and they've pulled this game back to not parity, but they're ahead.
Yeah, I mean, even up to this point, LGD has been really good at staying even or ahead of BLG. And the question is, now we're at 13 minutes. We've not just got ults, we've got the second point in them, and more importantly than that, we've got first items having come through across the board for BLG. This is when we'd expected the comp to be scary. Are they going to be able to pull that off? Finn going to get chased down by Burdol right now. Public execution, not going to get him out to safety. And unfortunately, against an Olaf, you just don't really get to play the game.
Wow. Yeah, I know that Olaf is pretty good in the meta currently. Like, people are blind picking this champion, but Bin is getting worked in this matchup. I think that they kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit with the Vayne ban, because that is one of the best options into the Olaf, and now Burdol having a great time. 1,000 gold up. He needs to convert this into more than just lane push. But if LGD can get this dragon, Tangyuan looking for Knight maybe again. Won't be able to find it. But if they can get this dragon, there's a good chance that it could be, something like a Cloud Soul. If that gets given over to LGD, we'll have to see in a moment here. But it's very likely they could get a very powerful Soul and bring Burdol in for the team fights. And I think it's going to be a real while. Okay, it's Ocean Soul, never mind. But it is going to be a real while before Viper and Knight can deal with Burdol on this Olaf.
Engage from BLG is going to go wide. That sort of non-committal way that Bard has, throwing out the Temper Fate and finding a pick, hasn't really worked in BLG's favor so far. In fact, the picks have belonged almost entirely to LGD. I guess the nice thing about Olaf is that he can't CC you, so Realm Warp is going to go off. How much that'll save Knight?
It's not allowed
to. A matter of time, though. There's a flash from Heng to execute the rise right into the hands of Burdol once again. A 3-1 Olaf, and a Lee Sin that's getting active.
Yeah, what is happening in this game? LGD on top of it. Their macro is great. Mechanically, they're pretty solid so far. That is a really nice kick from Heng, playing around Burdol, who's now 2,000 gold up nearly. Everywhere on the map, it feels like LGD are winning. The one advantage BLG had is Viper on this Caitlyn, and that lead is completely sailed out. It's the max range axe that allows Burdol to chase down Knight, and then it's just a little greedy. Isn't aware of where Heng is. They don't have him tracked. War jump, kick, flash onto Knight. Really well played from LGD. Now they're getting a Herald as well. 2,000 gold lead. With this comp, they can really start to run you down.
Such a sharp contrast to the early stage of the game as well, when it seemed like BLG had a permanent read on where Heng was. Now, however, with Burdol having taken up more and more mental space for BLG, they're losing track of the ability to keep tabs on Heng. You've got Tangyuan, a constant threat in the side lane as well, picking up gold, forcing you to answer him. The solo laners for LGD are so terrifying that you really don't have time to think about where the Lee Sin is on top of all of that. And it's interesting when we think about what we had mentioned coming into this series. BLG are favored here. BLG are so favored that, as I said in the pre-show, they should be able to win this matchup with any top laner. And that seems to be exactly what LGD have locked in on. They went, you're playing with a new top laner. Theoretically. I mean, BLG have not played with Ben for most of the split. He's not new, but he's new to the team this split. And LGD basically went, well, we're not. We're going to invest in Burdol. We're going to make sure that he gets ahead on this Olaf. And he's going to take care of the rest.
And this is the part of the game, too, where LGD are really scary. One item Caitlyn is terrifying, but 2-item Ezreal is a much stronger position to be in. Trinity Force Mana Moon Spike is scary. Akali's really scary at this point before she can get locked down. Shaoye's Corby does have flash. No, he's just dead. Oh!
Gonna flash away.
See,
actually, with
no
the heal,
damage from Viper.
To be saved.
it just doesn't have enough damage at this point in the game. The Lee Sin 2 items is going to be strong, and Burdol, you can already see how strong he is. So LGD, they just don't have enough damage right now to fight through. I'm shocked that Shaoye didn't die there. He's on a trap, under half HP. BLG running out of steam in this mid game a little bit. Gonna be a while before they're back online. I mean, thinking about, you know, Caitlyn cruxing through this awkward mid game that everyone talks about. The Rise waiting for his rower to complete. That won't happen before the next dragon, and get his Manamoon up. Manamoon. His Seraphs upgraded. That won't happen before the dragon. So LGD are probably most likely going to get this next dragon for free, unless BLG can capitalize off of a mistake LGD make or something like that. Then even Baron in 50 seconds, like maybe you could force something like that or get some of these towers down. Trying to make a play in mid, but I don't think this is going to work.
Burdol's here, and you don't want to be engaging into Burdol's face. He finds Shun, forces the flash out of Neferi. Shun's going to get away, as will the rest of BLG. However, I will draw your attention to one person who's been navigating the macro really well, and that is Knight, who has just realm warped over to the mid lane. Going to miss 1 CS as he returns up the top side, but also a very persistent threat in the side lane for BLG. He is one of the few gold leads that they have across the map, and Knight, at the very least, is doing his job on the Rise, is not losing a lot of momentum here, just making sure that he is always in the side lanes, collecting as much gold as possible, and he is one of the few exceptions to the incredible amount of scaling that LGD have. Knight, when he hits the full stack, when he hits a couple more items as well, he will be just as scary, if not scarier, than the rest of LGD. Ball engage going to come through. The LG surely do not actually commit out to Heng. That would be, I think, death. I think death for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Burdol with no ult, no ghost, like that is a little concerning for LGD, but Shun, no flash, no ult. Viper now, no barrier, means that this is an absolute no-go barrier, even more than it was before. So Rower gets completed for Knight. He gets his like extra level up on Tangyuan, and Seraphs isn't far off, so it'll be soon when BLG are feeling confident enough to fight, but right now is absolutely not. And this is where LGD need to keep pushing forwards.
Walls, the Olaf's greatest enemy. Can't chase Shun, but after picking up the Raptors, there's not really much more that Shun can do around this mid lane either. And mid lane becoming the focus of the game as the tower still stands, and LGD want to solve that problem pronto. Already popped the Rip Herald around here a couple minutes ago, but Burdol just going to face tank on a Knight, pick up the mid lane tower, and get an even stronger advantage for LGD. This one not even about the gold, but really about the mid lane unlocking so much more presence that they can have, that Heng and Tangyuan especially can put themselves in around the rest of the jungle. Perfect example of it right here is Tangyuan finds On, and On, he's got nowhere to go. It's not his jungle anymore.
Yeah, very squishy on this Bard. Under-leveled compared to Tangyuan, level 14, who's keeping up despite the Rower. Not too bad, not that much XP behind, you know, considering the Rower. And LGD, even though they get, you know, stalled out a little bit, they do end up getting that mid tower. Tangyuan is very scary now with 2 items, and LGD push forward their advantage just slightly more, up to about 3,000 gold. Want to see more from them, though. I don't want to let Knight get to full scaling, as he does have Seraphs and Rower finish. You're waiting on Actualizer now. Burdol, gotta be a little careful here.
He knows it's a 1v2.
Does he win, though?
The nice thing about him even looking scary, that's full vision on Shun towards the bot lane. 22 minutes into the game, we're not at the point where it's the most relevant yet, but if your jungler is in the bottom side of the map, LGD got a Baron angle cooking in the next few minutes. Heng gonna go for the kick.
Ooh.
Pushes On back through the team, but the rest of LGD able to move away. Heng really flirting with danger, committing, and then instantly safeguarding out of the fight.
Yeah, he's on a first-name basis with danger right now, I have to say. But LGD, with that chunk out, they feel confident. That's Realm Warp for Vision. BLG will know. So they have an answer here.
Teleport is actually a good objective. LGD can back away from this right now, but they want to stick on the Baron, even as Bin has joined the fight.
Getting
Burdol's
sketchy.
gotta play frontline here, but Heng trapped inside the pit, literally. It's going to take a little while. Shun tries to stay in for as long as he can, but Tangyuan forces him out. Tangyuan actually leaves the pit himself.
Whoa!
The Baron is the one that goes golden. Shun recommits and finishes off Tangyuan. Now, with the ult connecting from Bin, BLG seem to have turned the fight right in time. Heng's going to safeguard out once again, but the Baron is still Leaf. Shun wants to finish the fight. BLG are doing 2 objectives at once, and Burdol, forced to flash away, will not be able to finish his own. 3 members of LGD left standing, but the Baron below half HP, having recovered a little. BLG really want to finish this off. Heng gonna look for the smite over the wall. 3K, 2K left on the Baron, but the Sonic Wave expires. Heng needs to get over once again. Lands it, goes into the pit, but does not secure the Baron. BLG, 24 minutes into the game, reverse their fates, win the team fight, and take the Baron.
That was so close there. The kick away, the Q was so beautiful from Heng, but LGD bite off a little more than they can chew, and now they've completely lost the gold lead. Look at the explosion of gold in mid and bot. Tangyuan, I love the attempt, but he kind of makes himself a little dizzy. He has the E on the Shroud to go back. Goes back in, but Shun follows, gets taken down. Shun back out over the wall. When that happens, that's it. Bin finds Shaoye and comes alive with BLG. Their health bars get chunked so low after this all-in from Burdol. It is by margins that BLG are able to do this, but very well played. What did it go down to here? So there's the kick away. Q on the Baron, goes in. 13-27.
We're not slowing the replay down? What are we doing?
Look at the gold in mid and bot now after those, like, 1 kill each.
BLG have gotten themselves out of a sticky situation. LGD still strong, but I'm not so certain that LGD just blanket win a fight anymore. With more and more item completions coming in, there are 3 items technically complete for Shun, even if one is a Serpent's Fang, and that is a very strong Nefiri to be tangoing with. Knight's managed to maintain his gold lead. Viper has continued to expand his. The carries for BLG are ahead, and that should mean that this mid-game gets seeded in a big way by LGD. Do they recognize that, though, or do they want to go for a little bit more? Traplan's already laid out by BLG. The Dragon taken by Shun. LGD show up to the fight, but don't actually take it.
A little nervous for LGD here. But look at how strong Knight is. Level 16. So you get the extra overload damage. He's got Actualizer finish as well now. Terrifying. This Rise will insta-kill pretty much anybody now. Getting towards 3rd item for Viper, and feels like with this Dragon, I mean, the Baron's not going to result in a whole lot more. Maybe this mid lane tower goes over. We're not going to really explode the game open in terms of towers, but you've bought time for Knight to get full build, for Viper to get closer to that as well. And for LGD, that felt like, you know, a small loss in terms of what they actually lost, but the game pace and the hold that LGD had on the game has completely evaporated.
Difficult for them to find a way to fight into the Baron as well, into the strength that BLG so clearly have. Despite the tower falling, that is just standing gold equalized. BLG's gold lead is existent, but small. And LGD, just by holding on, are going to get more and more important items onto people like Tangyuan and Shaoye, who will become terrifying. Maybe Burdol's impact starting to fall off a little bit at this point in the game, but Olaf is going to do Olaf things. He is going to demand attention from BLG.
BLG with the map control, very scary. Invading comes through. Shun holds as well with the secure on the Grump. They get the enhanced Scuttle Crab, which is going to provide even more vision. Maybe sweep out some of those wards that LGD have. They're not going to lose any objectives for this control, but the balance of -1, balance of the wave has of the game has swung very heavily in terms of BLG, despite the numbers not really showing that. I mean, Knight and Viper up 1.3k, 1.6k is very scary, but BLG haven't blown open the gold to 5k overall. They don't have a massive dragon lead. They didn't take down any more towers than LGD have already taken down themselves. But the tempo vibes in this game have fully gone BLG's way.
Even though the laning phase wasn't that good, in the last critical fight around the Baron, it's worth noting that Bin played a pretty big role in locking down Shaoye, as we mentioned the Ambessa should be able to do in the composition. With Knight continuing to be the side lane threat that he has been since minute 1 as well. Constantly macroing really well for the rest of the team, keeping their side waves pushed out. The guy is nearly max level right now. Knight, highest level in the game by a pretty wide margin.
Yeah.
Is
pretty terrifying.
He is playing a lot of the map game for BLG right now, and while we haven't really seen that pan out in the team fights in terms of him being this big threat, you can tell why he is so highly prized in the LPL.
Yeah, the KDA doesn't tell the story at all for Knight's impact in this game, and Shaoye may be caught, but feeling confident to walk forwards even though he's on a ward. Arcane shifts over the wall away from Knight, and again, BLG maintain control. They don't really even have to do anything. They walk in, and LGD a little worried. Obviously, Heng not there. I think that, to be honest, this is the last time that LGD really feel, as their team comp, that they are at least champion to champion, like maybe stronger. You know, 3-item Ezreal, 3-item Caitlyn. I like the 3-item Ezreal, but after that, it's going to become... This Caitlyn is going to do so much damage. The Ryze is going to outscale. Lee Sin's going to get outscaled. Maybe not the Olaf and maybe not the Karma, but still, so much damage from BLG. And even though Bin had a bit of a tough time in lane, if he's able to continue to team fight like we just saw in that fight, I am concerned for LGD's chances. Dragon in 20 seconds, or 15 I should say. And... I mean, for LGD, do you hedge your bets here and say, I mean, we're 2.5k down. Knight is very, very strong. But this might be our last chance before BLG get too far gone in terms of scaling.
I think you might leave it. We'll see what LGD choose to do, but no Rabadons completed. Knight is going to flash away, takes the very magical journey, and BLG get away with the dragon. LGD not quite able to find an angle outside of the one that Heng tried to create, but Burdol is doing his best to find one as well. Shouldn't being chased down by Burdol right now is going to commit to the fight.
We gotta go
Baron. The rest of his team to escape, and picking off the jungler, as you say, does leave one very obvious option for LGD.
Yeah, really nice escape there from Knight. I don't think that was on purpose that On put that magical journey in anticipation that Knight was going to get kicked in. But it worked out. Knight lived. Shun was caught after the dragon, and LGD, they have to do Baron because they are getting outscaled. They are down Soul Point now. Bin's going to TP in. BLG do not want to give this over, even though they're down their jungler.
BLG going to try and fight this. Tangyuan over the wall, but not really on an aggressive flank angle. Is just going to get a little bit of vision as the Baron goes down. BLG choose not to engage. They lose the teleport off of Bin, but at least they don't lose more. Down a jungler, and now, with Barons equalized, 1-for-1, it's LGD's turn to see what they can do. Quick reset's going to come in, and especially from Tangyuan. This is the champion that, while we were talking about scaling, I was going, yeah, but... It's really going to depend on what Tangyuan's able to do. In these last two fights, critically, he has done nothing. But he's got two needlessly large rods to turn into a Rabadons. And he has got the most outplay potential on the Rift.
He does. And looking really good on some of those earlier kills. The solo kill on Knight. I think that this is a good champion for Tangyuan. That fight before the Baron was a little bit... no, it didn't play out the way that he wanted it to. Definitely can see the vision. Now sieging the bot tier 2. Now it's going to take half his HP. LGD need to make impact on the map with this Baron. They need multiple towers off.
Public execution comes through onto Heng, locking down the Lee Sin safeguard over the wall for him. Shaoye getting out of the Tempered Fate, and LGD playing around the edges of BLG's vision. Now finally are going to commit as they lose Crisp, making that a very awkward fight indeed. Realm Warp for 4 onto Shaoye. LGD get their AD carry blown up, but now you've got an Olaf, you've got an Akali in your back line, and Tangyuan and Burdol strike back. The most outplay potential on the Rift, and the most brainless champion to go with it. Run you down, and LGD complete the ace 33 minutes into the game.
What the hell was that? I think the game's over. LGD just won. What happened? Tangyuan and Burdol just absolutely tore BLG in half. Viper with a triple kill. So much damage on this Caitlyn, but like you said before, the outplay potential on the Akali is too much. That Realm Warp in ends up being a Realm Warp to lose screen for BLG as LGD. They win it.
Nexus exposed. On's gonna watch this happen, and against all odds, but with all of their preparation going to this moment, LGD will take the first game against BLG. We need to contend. This is a massive win for LGD, though it is not the end of the road in this series. They have just beaten the team that is in contention for #1 in the LPL, and throughout the year has been in competition for #1 in the world.
That was a ridiculous team fight. I am speechless. I don't know what more to say. I was sitting there watching the siege, and I'm thinking, man, Dia's right. Akali, so much outplay potential, but she just can't get in. Like, you can't be diving as Akali. You don't need to go in when BLG care package themselves on top of you as 5.
Yeah.
And yeah, the engage is onto Shaoye, but enough damage comes out from him, and then Tangyuan and Burdol just absolutely take over. I would love to see that fight back again because it happened so fast. Tangyuan stays alive, does so much damage. I was thinking while we're in the game when BLG kind of took back priority over the map, they were, were back in control of the game. Man, who am I going to say MVP for? Because no one's really having an MVP performance here for BLG. This is, if I had a vote, this would be the easiest vote of my life. That Akali was unbelievable.
And I think really credit to LGD here, because as you say, they had an Akali that struggled to get into fights, and that wasn't at critical itemization points around dragons that otherwise, as you had mentioned, seemed really critical. BLG were at this point where they were starting to outscale massively, and LGD were falling behind, but Tangyuan didn't have the item completions, and I think it's really good reserved play from LGD. They go for a few safe picks, but they don't overcommit to the fight because Tangyuan's not able to get access to it. And even in the end, Crisp gets picked off and LGD go, we lose the fight. And yet they recognize as soon as the Realm Warp comes in, hold on, our Akali doesn't have to flank anymore. The BLG have flanked themselves, and LGD have this split-second recognition around the win cons, not of their individual champions, but of their mid laner and how it relates to everyone else that blows that game open.
And keeping critical in the top lane situation, you mentioned Bin finding a really crucial ult onto Shaoye. He absolutely did that.
Yep.
And that was one of the reasons they won that Baron fight, but really suffered in the lane. And then, I don't know, it feels like right now the top lane situation is very strange in general in the LPL. And I think Bin didn't really... That is an absurd gold graph. That is a good one. I'm noting that in my brain. Yeah, not the best. I think Shun is my biggest surprise, though. One of the quietest Shun games I've ever seen. On Nefiri, he is nearly getting out-damaged by a Lee Sin. That should not be happening. At least when we're going that late in the game and BLG have the upper hand in the game. It felt like LGD were in control. They had a slow game going. They made a mistake around Baron, and then they were still able to bring it back off of getting a pick on Shun. They got Baron themselves, and then that masterful fight at the end.
And for that reason, I want to introduce, Tangyuan, like you said, has this really big argument for MVP. his pressure throughout the game, while most important at the end, was not nearly as present in the early game. I think there's an argument for Burdol here as well. Even though the Olaf fell off, he was right there with Akali in the end game team fight. It's them two together that end up winning it, even as Burdol's champion is getting outscaled. But for so much of the game, he was the thing that LGD were winning fights around, not Akali.
You know, I like casting with you because you always have opinions about the MVP, and it makes me think, and I'm on board with this one for sure. I think Burdol did a really good job of winning in the lane, and if it does go his way, I think that it makes a lot of sense. Some of the fights are really impacted by him as well. This is so close, man. The 13-27 on the smite. I don't know if this is on like this magical journey is ridiculous, but this is the fight that ends up leading Shun to get taken down after because they can't quite get away, which leads to Baron. And I assume that up next is the fight that I have been wanting to see again. Here we go. All right. Public Execution hits onto Heng, who gets out. So there's an engaged tool. Shaoye no flash. That's probably the go button there for the Realm Warp. But Shun's so low. Like, yeah, Chris does get one shot. That does happen. And then Realm Warp's going to come in here. Knight says we go. But Tangyuan's full health. Burdol doesn't even have ult. But they get to kill Shun, and then it's the angle there for Tangyuan is disgusting. The double R. Yeah. Look, I'm with you the early game about Burdol, but Tangyuan did so much in this fight that it's a tough call.
I mean, I think it's ultimately a game of prediction as well, because we're trying to think what is the LGDL, what is the LPL thinking. I think that ultimately it's Tangyuan and Burdol close second, but the end game performance is just too good from Tangyuan to ignore, especially when considering that it could have been quite bad. He could have just not recognized that that was a winning position and run from the fight for a half second more before turning around. And suddenly BLG are winning that fight, because BLG do have a numbers advantage. It's critical that Tangyuan's able to step up to the plate in that moment, and he was putting out a lot of pressure through the game. However, yeah, it looks like I mean, it could go either way, right? Like we're making really good arguments for both sides. Ultimately, I guess the LPL broadcast end up favoring more the fact that Burdol did have a lot of the pressure through the game, but I'm very curious to see what the breakdown of votes was, because I expect that it was close.
I would expect so too. I think you bring up some great points. You know, the early game dominance that Burdol did have on the Olaf is very impactful. And even though Tangyuan did find a solo kill on Knight, not really the pressure that Burdol bring out. And I think that while you can say that the late game conversation for Tangyuan is there, you could also say that Baron play where he... I think he's going for a really creative play, and it probably looks really cool if he does end up, you know, getting a kill there and they secure Baron. Because it doesn't work at all, it does make an argument against him. But either way, congrats to Burdol. I think did super well in the top lane matchup, and this was one of my concerns coming into today. How's Ben gonna look? And so far, not what I expect. Not what I think should be coming out of this player.
But definitely something that LGD have predicted and drafted for. They put Burdol in the top lane. They set him up for success with the Olaf. They watch him execute, knowing that it is their shot against BLG. They have taken one shot at the King. They have not missed. Will they connect in the second game? Will they deal a deadly blow to BLG this late in their season and take LGD, a team in the middle of the pack, a team trying to rise up, and put them, at least for a moment, above one of the best teams in the world? We'll